How's it going, everyone? As always, God bless you. Thank you for being here. I'm Gage, and this is Candy Coral Aquatics. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. This is where I talk about all things reefing, but more importantly, where I share the information I've gathered on my tank with you guys to help you become better hobbyists at the hobby we call reefing. So today, guys, I'm going to make a video on what it's going to cost to set up a similar setup that I have, which is a 60-gallon cube with a stand. We're going to go over equipment a little bit, as well as stocking your setup. One thing I just kind of want a disclaimer, it's going to vary, even though I've done my best to try to get you guys accurate prices. It's going to vary based on your location and, what your contacts are, which I will explain here in a second. What prompted me to make this video is I saw somebody else do a video on what it takes to, kind of set up cost-wise different size tanks. And while it wasn't a bad video, and I'm not saying like I make better videos or anything like that, I sometimes feel like people aren't always honest, and not intentionally being dishonest, but it's almost like they lowball a little bit, because some of the prices I was hearing, I was like, I don't think that's accurate. So I broke everything down, got it as close as I could for everything that I have in my setup right now. So if you guys wanted to set up a similar sized tank with similar stock that I currently, you'd be able to do it, and this would come very, very close. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Kind of made a list here. We're going to try to go in order. So the tank and the stand. The tank is not drilled. There is no overflow, and there is no sump. I use a canister filter for filtration, which I've talked about before. So the tank, which is a 60-gallon rimless cube, and then the stand that goes on top of that, or excuse me, underneath that tank, is going to run you about $1,200, okay? I'm sure I didn't pay that way back when I first got it, but as you guys know, prices have gone up with everything. So the tank and stand is going to cost you about $1,200. Moving up from there, we're looking at sand. So depending on how much and how thick, deep you want your sand, you're going to be looking at about $90 for live sand in this kind of a setup. That's going to get you about 3 bags of sand, and that should do you pretty good. But if you have a specific fish like a jawfish or a burrowing wrasse or something, you might have to go a little bit deeper. Moving up again from there, we have rock. So you have 2 different kinds of rock options. You have live rock, and then you have dry rock. Dry rock is always cheaper, comes in anywhere between $2 to $3 a pound, and then live rock is more expensive, anywhere between $6 to $8 a pound. So for this demonstration, and this is actually what I did myself, I went with about 90% dry rock, and I only added maybe about 10 or so pounds, if that, of live rock just to kind of help me get started. So if you, for a 60-gallon cube, you put in, say, 50 pounds of rock, and let's say it was dry rock at $3 a pound, that's going to cost you approximately $150 for dry rock. Next, let's talk about the water. So I think you should get an RO system. In the long run, an RODI unit is going to save you a ton of money. You'll be able to change your water and refill it for pennies on the dollar, as opposed to going to your local fish store, excuse me, and spending, 30, 45 cents, whatever it is that they want anymore per gallon for pre-mixed seawater, salt water, and then having to worry, is it really clean? Is it TDS? Because once it's pre-mixed, you can't test the TDS, right? It's going to be astronomical because of the salt content in it. So how do you know if the water is really clean? Are they changing their filters? And it's just going to cost you a lot of money. So do yourselves a favor, go out and get an RO unit. The RO unit that I use, I just recently made a video on it on how to change the filters. It's the 75-gallon per day 4-stage RODI unit from Bulk Reef Supply. It's going to run you $200. Super affordable. All right, moving from there, let's talk about the heater. You can spend upwards of, $100 or so, maybe even more on a heater. So I said between $30 to $140, you can get yourself a decent heater. For about $60, it's kind of in the middle. You should be able to get yourself a nice heater for about $60. Flow in the tank. Currently, I'm running a MP10 from Ecotech, and then a AI Nero 5. So the Ecotech MP10 is going to run you $379. If you have to change the wet side, so that's the power head in the tank, that's going to run you $75. The Nero 5, $239 new, and honestly, guys, that's the one that I would go with. It's a lot less expensive. You're going to save over $100, and it's got just as good options as the Ecotechs do as far as flow goes. All right, from there, let's talk about filtration. So I use the CF400 UV canister filter from Aquatop. It's got a built-in UV sterilizer, which I think is awesome because for $130, you're going to get multi-layers of filtration plus UV sterilization. You can't beat that, right? You can't beat that. So $139 for a canister filter of excellent quality that's also going to sterilize that water column for you and make your water nice and clear. It also helps to protect against bacteria blooms because, again, it's sterilizing that water. Moving on, let's talk about lighting. So this is going to vary wildly, but on this tank I have a Radeon G6 XR30 Blue. I love Radeons. I finally took the plunge about a year-ish ago and bought one. They are very expensive. This light's going to run you $1,000. It's the latest and greatest from Radeon, from Ecotech. So it's expensive. However, it's very user-friendly. It's very beginner-friendly. There's multiple preset settings, if you will, that are downloaded on it. And with the one push of a button, you can give your corals the exact perfect spectrum that they need. So definitely would recommend that. Let's see here. Let's talk livestock. All right, so as far as stock goes, for fish, I would say $300. $300 is very realistic for a tank of this size. It's not hard nowadays to walk into a store and spend $200 just on one fish. So if you're buying some smaller fish, some kind of middle of the road fish, $300 I think is fair. Cleanup crew, gonna spend about $100 when you first get started. $100 should get you a cleaner shrimp, handful of crabs, hermit crabs, handful of snails, maybe even a sea urchin in there. So that's gonna be pretty accurate there. Corals. So everything that I have in this tank right now, every time I say it, I laugh to myself. Every time I say the word coral, it always makes me think of The Walking Dead. If you guys have ever seen The Walking Dead, when Rick is talking to his son, his name's Carl. He's like, Carl. I digress. Anyways. All right, so corals. I got $475 into corals right now. Now that might sound like a lot to some of you, or that you might be like, wow, that's actually a good deal. So we're talking everything. I actually just uploaded a video just the other day about all the corals that I have in the tank. But really quick, I know it's not a coral, but over here we've got the got the Black Widow anemone. Paid $100 for him. You're definitely not going to get that guy for $100 anywhere else. The Dragon Soul Torch, which is multi-head. I think it's either 4 or 5 heads. I paid $275. The Sunset Monopora was actually free. They just gave that to me. This colony of Rastas right here. So if you guys are new to Zoas, or if you just don't know, usually LFS stores or even online retailers will sell corals like Zoas per polyp. Now, last time I looked, Rastas are about $8 per polyp. That I haven't counted, but there's got to be 20 or more, I would guess, polyps or heads on that. So that would have run you anywhere between $160 to $200 just for that one piece. And again, I haven't counted to see how many are on there. Mummy-eyed chalice, I think I spent $15 on that frag. Green star polyp I actually got for free. What else? Down here, the purple people eaters, there's I think 3 or 4 polyps. That was $25. Anyways, the point that I'm making here is if you can find somebody in your community or close by that is well known, sells lots of corals, you can go to their home, you can see their setup, you can see what they're doing, and they have fair prices, that's really what you should be doing. Because, I think hobbyists are the best people to buy from. Local fish stores, yeah, we need them for other things. I just don't think we need them for coral. That's my personal opinion. They're super overpriced. And I just know I can get better stuff cheaper elsewhere. All right, so corals that I have currently, $475. Additives. So on a tank like this, you can dose Alpha Reef. I've put plenty of videos out on what Alpha Reef is. I think I just recently bought this bottle. Let me grab it. I'm trying to think of the price I paid. I want to say it was like $26. So that's how big it is. It's a 500 milliliter, which will last me, a decent amount of time, I guess. I haven't really panned it all out yet. I'm still on the first bottle, but about 500 milliliters for about $26. It's got everything you need. You just dump it once a day into the tank per the dosing instructions, and you've just dosed alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, strontium, iodine. You're good to go. Now, if you decide to do a 2 or 3 part dosing system, obviously it's going to cost you a little bit more, but that's what I'm doing. Salt to mix into your seawater. or excuse me, your RO water to make seawater. Currently, I'm using Salinity by Aquavitro. The 120-gallon bucket is going to run you $83 approximately. I was using the Red Sea Pro Reefer or Pro Salt or whatever, which was the black bucket. You can pick up a bucket that's going to be suitable for this tank for about $50. So that's actually the price point that I picked, just so you guys know when I give you a total at the end, I picked $50. Algae scraper, it's going to cost you about $50 depending on which one you get. Make sure you get a good one. I think mine is a Tunzi or a Toonzi, however you say that. And it's a magnetic. I just leave it in the tank all the time. It does an excellent job. Roughly $50 for that. I don't think I've missed anything. Let me just go down the list. Bear with me. Filter, light rock sand, heater, power heads, an algae scraper, stock, additives. I think we already talked about the RO system, pretty sure. Salt and tank. Okay, so for this setup currently, everything that I have discussed, tax tag and title, it's going to run you $4,715.94. I'll say that one more time, $4,715.94. That is pretty accurate. So if you guys are like, wow, that's kind of blew my socks off, that's a lot more than I thought it was going to be, that's just the truth. If some of you guys were like, oh, that's not too bad, kind of what I thought, then there you go, you're in the ballpark. But again, 60-gallon cube, current setup, almost $5,000. So I hope this video has helped kind of enlighten you a little bit and maybe kind of get rid of some confusion that you had. But yeah, it's really going to vary depending on who you know. You know, like I said, and I'll say it one more time, if you know somebody that you can get good, reliable corals from, you will save yourselves a ton of money. Until next time, guys, take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time.